Hi, this is Elliot Fishman, and welcome to Facebook Live. And today's Thursday, and remember, 1 o'clock is when we do it. It's a pleasure being here. It's a lot better being here than being one of those guys from Google or Twitter or Facebook who had to go to Congress and had to listen to a lot of guys who can't run their own shop telling you why Twitter, Google, and Facebook are doing things wrong. So when they block people, because they're supposed to block them if they're kind of behaving a certain way, then they get yelled at for freedom of speech. If they don't block people, then it's the Russians running the election. So I have great sympathy, so I hope it doesn't knock my stock down. But anyway, so great sympathy. Also, I want to tell you that this is not being sponsored by Drake's. This is something, if you're from New York, let me see if I get this right, Drake's coffee cake and Yodels. These are extremely unhealthy, but they're extremely tasty. OU Dairy. If Drake's wants to sponsor one of our podcasts, we take a few Yodels. Anyway, I tried that with G a couple weeks ago, asking for a T-shirt. I got nothing. I got a feeling I'm not going to get any coffee cakes, but they are very tasty. Anyway, okay, so I chose a topic today about the spirit of Apollo 13. And I'm sure most of you have watched the movie Apollo 13. Many of you were not around or don't remember when the actual Apollo 13 event happened. And the one thing you remember most from the movie or from the whole event, it was an incredible disaster, right? You know, the spaceship almost exploded. The end of the day, it was a miracle they made it back. I mean, they had to go all the way around the moon, come back, then do a landing. And it was just really, it showed the best of the best. Because it wasn't like you could decide, well, let's wait till tomorrow to work on the problem. Or, well, let's do it next week. Or, I'm not in the mood. Oh, I don't want to do it. Oh, it's too hard. The answer was, those guys are in space. They had no control. They needed to get back. Someone needed to do something. And you really had no time to do it but that exact moment. And remember that very famous quote from the movie, and which really was in real life, which was that failure was not an option. And what they did was basically they willed themselves that they were going to land those three guys safely. And that saved the space program, more importantly, saved those three guys. But it was really a triumph of man over catastrophe. It was the unexpected that happened. You had limited flexibility. You couldn't send another spacecraft up. You could not, remember they were running short on oxygen. You could not just send some repair parts up there. You couldn't send a drone, didn't have drones in those days. Can't send drones to space anyway. But it does make the point that what the will to do things when you have really smart people together and they're pushed against the deadline, it's tremendous opportunity. And when you think about American industry, let's take Apple Computer. There's a new iPhone coming out. I do need one. I didn't get the last one. Next week, the 12th, okay? There'll be a new iPad in a few months after that, and then there'll be a new MacBook Pro and some desktop stuff, some iMacs. Every year, there's a new machine. There's a new version of that iPhone. And it's not just the same thing. And yes, I have an iPhone, and I will promise to tell you, I got it in my pocket here, that the new iPhone, I'm going to tell you, I've not seen it exactly, but I'm going to tell you that you won't believe it, but it's going to have the same keyboard. It's only 10 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. It's not going to be 11 or 12 on there, okay? But yet they're able to take what you would say is a limited functionality, only a set of numbers, and make it into something incredible. And there will be some incredible new things next week, whether it's on the photo, whether it's on the sound, whether it's on the flexibility, whether it's the integration. I think that is very important to really make certain that things work out really, really well. It's just very, very important that happens. So in saying that, I wonder why we don't have the same process in medicine. Medicine is very hard. We're trying to find cures of disease. We're trying to figure out ways of detecting disease. implementing change, implementing cures. Okay? That is the way we're trying to save lives. And it does sometimes wonder why things go slowly. You know, we talk about a Manhattan Project in World War II for the nuclear bomb. Why don't we have this kind of strategy in medicine? I gave a talk last week at David Hellman's CIM, Center for Innovative Medicine, and I was the first speaker out of 3, and then there was a whole day discussion. Dave Hellman and Stephanie Cooper-Greenberg do this incredible job of running the center, trying to look at how to change things. And I gave this talk where I basically said, you know, I just wonder if we're just not in a rush. People are dying. I know I said that that's a little bit dramatic, but, you know, there are people with cancer, there's diseases, you know, if we cure them, patients will live. You know, this is like being in the mid-50s before the Salk immunization for polio. People got polio the summer before and never got it again. It was a miracle. And the question is, why aren't we creating those miracles today? We have better technology than ever before. We have CRISPR. We have deep learning. And every day I read something else about deep learning, whether it's analyzing data or it's looking at PD-1 or it's looking at immunotherapy, helping us define things. And yet things aren't moving along as fast as it should. We used to blame the FDA that we had new drugs, but the FDA wouldn't approve them. But Sid Gottlieb at the FDA now is basically allowing people to push drugs through, push technology through that doesn't have to go to some ridiculous proof process. He's really allowing industry or individuals to really push technology and get it out there years before it would have been done before. So, you know, hands out to him doing a great job. But he can't approve anything if it's not being submitted. And I think that that is the question I had last week. Why are we so slow? Why does everything seem to be by damn committee? And the committees just drag things along. If you want to get something approved to hire, they got to first look it up, then they got to post it. That's even if you have all the funding in the world. You're basically creating a bureaucratic nightmare. Not to mention you're hiring all these bureaucrats. I commented in my talk that at times institutions, and this is your hospital as well as my hospital, you have more vice presidents than Russia has generals. And those vice presidents do squat. They get paid a lot of money. I mean, there's some vice presidents who do great things, but there's so many damn vice presidents. Why are there so many vice presidents? Who's reporting to whom? How many layers of complexity do you need? I don't think you need as many as we have. When you look at Apple, who do you report to? Everyone reports to Tim Cook. You don't have thousands of layers. You have the iPhone, the iPad. You look at industries, Jensen Huang and NVIDIA. People report to him. There are managers in between, but it's not 1,000 layers. And when there's a good idea, it gets right to him. He's on the pulse of the company, and he's able to use that pulse to design what the next product's going to be. And the reason they come out with things like the Turing chip is because he knows what needs to be done to make it happen, and then the team follows in his direction. I just think most institutions now, there is no direction. This is the direction. You know, it's kind of like, you know, waving your hand 1,000 ways. The question is, how do you change that? You need to really reinvent that Apollo 13. This intensity. I mentioned last week that, not that I'm a big movie fan, but those of you remember the Blues Brothers movie, fantastic movie. There's also this really good thing with Aretha Franklin. I don't want to go off the subject, but Aretha Franklin passed away from neuroendocrine tumors a couple weeks ago. There's this really good scene with Aretha Franklin there when she sings the song. But you remember when he gets the Blues Brothers together and he wants to get the band back together and people are saying why he can't do it. And he just simply says, Elwood says, we're on a mission from God. This is beyond all of your issues. And I think that's what we are lacking. And I know when I spoke last week, most of the people agreed with me. It's the passion. It's not that we don't want to do the right thing. I think we're so controlled in this world today about saying the right thing, about acting the right way, that people are so afraid of being wrong that they really do nothing. It's just simply a bunch of things moving along at a snail's pace, because at a snail's pace, hey, at least I wasn't wrong. Ed Catmull speaks about how you need to have error because error is the road to discovery. Edison spoke about getting a light bulb right the 10,000th time, and no, he didn't make 9,999 mistakes. He made 9,999 ways he learned that probably he shouldn't make a light bulb. It's how you look at it. It's the half full, half empty, but it's also this idea about strategy. I mentioned, and I won't mention the person's name, that our Felix project, which is our deep learning, which is really, I'm amazed how well it's going. And I made the point that the reason I think it's going so well, besides some really brilliant people, is the fact that Bert Vogelstein said we would meet every week. And we present every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So not a week goes by when you're not presenting. And I thought that was the most incredible thing I have seen, because typically you meet, it's once a month, maybe it's canceled, you meet every other month. We meet once a month. We meet once a week. I told it to one of my friends, and he said, that was really good. And I took great pride while we were doing well. He goes, Elliot, that's really good. We almost do it the same way in my company. The difference is we meet every day if we have a problem. We don't let problems last. We get every day until we have the solution. We don't have time to wait to meet once a week. And then I kind of crawled away, thought I had a great idea. I was shot down. But he was right. Because the answer is, if you have a difficult problem, time is never on your side. If you get really good people together and you're really focused and you work at that problem every single day, there's a really good chance you're going to solve that problem. Because people then know the intensity, that you don't have the patience. I have a few good characteristics. One of them I don't have really is patience. And we all want to do great things. You look at CTisus and Facebook and everything we do, and why we're on Facebook Live with you is because we are always trying to figure out what to do next, what to do better, not being satisfied that we had the CTisus, which we've done for 19 years. We're saying, what else can we do? What else should we do? And I think it's a really good lesson for all of us. And this idea about really focusing and really being on a mission from God. I mean, we need to really think about how we do things and what barriers there are. Now, I don't want to have 10 committees meeting about barriers. Then you'll spend 2 years figuring out what barriers there are and then why you can't change the barriers and create 12 more layers of barriers. I'm saying you need to basically say, like the Who said, we're not going to take it anymore. Remember those really good Tommy the Who? Remember that album? Tommy? Excellent, excellent songs. The Who are getting a bit old. Remember, the Who's the one who said, hope I die before I get old. Now they're all old. And they're trying not to die. They're in their 70s. But we need to figure out how is it that we can do things better? How can we move forward? And I think it's actually exciting. I think when you're involved in a project that really has a lot of passion, it's very easy to be passionate about it. And I know this life balance, we need to be balancing everything. But I think you do better balancing if you're passionate. The one thing you don't want to be through life is just flat line. Flat line is bad on an EKG, and flat line is bad in life. There will be the ups and downs, the pluses and the minuses, the good and the bad. That's just life in the fast lane. But it's the passion that I think is missing. It's the urgency that I think is missing. In a world where craziness seems to be the rule, it's a time to really focus on what's important for us. And you're in medicine, the goal is to improve patient care, change outcomes, do things better. And I think a sense of urgency is really good. This idea of the Apollo 13 is failure is not an option, and we don't have all the time in the world because we have 24 or 28 hours before re-entry. We need to figure out everything quickly. We have controls, we have limits on what we can do, but within those limits, we need to figure out an answer. We all have limits what we can do. Money's a limit, equipment, technology, people, but within that limit, we need to figure out how we can put things together So when we enter that atmosphere, it's smooth sailing, parachute pops, we land in the water, and life is good. So I'll leave you with that. And those of you who are Jewish know that Monday and Tuesday next week is the beginning of the Jewish New Year. So happy holidays to everybody. But it's also a good time of the year to really think about what we've done in the past, which is what the Jewish holidays are: repentance, thinking about what we've done, thinking about how we're going to move forward, thinking about how we're going to do better. So today, perhaps, whatever religion you are, wherever you live, this will be Rosh Hashanah. This will be the start of the year when you really focus, when you really make a commitment to do better. And with that, we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.